Hey guys, it's me. I'm Bailey of Well Read PhD. You might follow me on Instagram or know me from a very brief booktuber situation. I have not really shared journaling videos before, so this is my first journaling video with you. If you are my subscriber on Substack, which I don't currently want to make that a paid subscription, I just want to sort of put things out as a hobby. But if you are subscribed to me at wellreadphd.substack.com, totally free to subscribe. You just get these a little earlier. I will release them to YouTube about a month after I release them to my subscribers, so you get sort of a sneak peek. I have just gotten back this past week from a crazy 2-month trip, starting on May 10th and then coming home on July 12th, to Europe writ large. I think we went to 16 countries, for both work and a wedding and a Beyonce concert and visiting my in-laws when they went to a business retreat. So I am going to show you that trip through my pages from May to the end of June. I am using a Hobonichi Cousin Avec this year. So, I mean, this is just the first half of the year. And like you can see, like this was my cousin last year. And so this is why I got the Avec, because the chunk is getting out of control. I will walk you through our trip. I will show you my daily spreads mostly, and yeah, yap about them, give you some behind the scenes, and we'll get started. So yeah, the first place we went was Zurich, Switzerland. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I have recently become under siege by the Swiss. So that's really fun. I'll explain that later on the next spread. But before I went on my trip, I was really inspired by Amy. If you don't know Amy Williams, Amy Y'all, she's the icon of journaling writ large, but she has a really great podcast called Paper People. And she and Erin Fairchild, Journal as Alter, were talking about who am I in this exact moment, and trying to sort of capture a snapshot. And so I am the same person as 2 months ago, right? But I think there are a lot of things that I have thought about and developed in and changed about. So first stop was Zurich. This was from a coffee bar that we went to. It was called Slurp, and we were like the most uncool people there. This actually came from a napkin. Yes, sorry, titties are out. Do I need to redact that? I have no clue. Also, don't look at my nails. I haven't gotten a manicure since I left for Europe. But so this was from my first Aperol Spritz. I love an Aperol Spritz. And to me, the peak thing of Euro summer is sitting and having a cocktail al fresco. And so this was my first of the summer. And that was really just fun to document. This is Flaumunster, which is like one of the big churches. This was off of a guide that they gave us in the church. So yeah. Okay, this is where I started getting canceled by the Swiss. I'll post the reel in the show notes, but basically you can do this thing, which I saw on Atlas Obscura. So Atlas Obscura is this site that compiles all of these sort of off the beaten path tourist attractions, not even tourist attractions, but just like sites of historical importance or kind of weird museums or histories like that. And this was in the Zurich entry for that. And so if you go to their city hall, the Stadthaus, which I got endlessly roasted about my German pronunciation, but I'm gonna do it anyway. You give them your driver's license, and they give you a key to go to these different like archaeologisches Fenster, which are like archaeological windows, so that you can go turn the key and then see all of these Roman ruins and things that the city was built upon. To me, it feels very national treasure, and most of my life is spent chasing the high of thinking I could be a national treasurer. And so I saved the little map. Get the key for up to 3 days, which is kind of crazy. Like America could never. The trust in the Swiss is very high, which I love for them. I love that they have a strong social contract. Alas, I do not trust my fellow Atlantans to do that. So after that, we went to this is literally from, oh my God, there's still cheese on it. you know, from a fondue place we went to, Les Désolés. It's really nice. My Swiss friend recommended it to us, so you know it's legit. And then the next day we took the train over to Würzburg, which I have a guide to both of these already up on my Substack, but Würzburg is like the most underrated place I think we went. And it has incredible wine for super cheap, and people are really kind. And yeah, it was like the most magical thing to just like hang out on this bridge, the Alte Mainbrücke, because it's on the Main River. And so it just means like the old. So every evening in the summer, you just go and there's like a little, I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing, who knows? There's like a little wine window over here on this side of the bridge, and then also on the other side of the bridge. Yeah, you give them €5. They give you like the best wine you've ever had in your life. And there was like, yeah, this is table wine. So highly recommend that. There were not that many tourists there, and it was just gorgeous. We did some other stuff in the Würzburg region. So we were obviously working from home. Oh, hello. Yes, sorry. The cat has joined. So we're very flexible, and we used that time to sort of do little mini day trips while we were in the Würzburg region. So, hello, thank you. So we went to Württemberg ab der Taube, which is like a fairy tale. It literally looks like you're in Beauty and the Beast. Apparently it was like on not Final Destination, Mortal Kombat, one of those like shoot 'em up video games. Apparently one of the towns was modeled after it, but it is gorgeous. It is medieval, cobblestoney. It was just us and the retirees, and we had a grand old time. I don't normally draw, but I have been just trying to challenge myself to try things that are out of my comfort zone. So I did try to do a little sketch of that. Obviously, I don't know anything about perspective, but that's fine. Then we went to the Würzburg residence, which is basically like the Versailles of this place. Highly recommend going there. Yeah, we were like in this beautiful, like frescoed place. Like that's literally a hall of mirrors. And some German kid on a field trip just was like walking up the stairs and just yarfed. And his teacher was like, oh no, and like had to run and get the people. And so that was fun for that kid or his teacher or like us. Being in the splash zone of the Yarf, but it was just funny to me, just like this beautiful Rococo architecture and then like some kid just like yarfing. So yeah, travel is not always that glamorous. So like really bustling and urban and fun. But yeah, it was kind of our rest city because there aren't too many like huge tourist attractions to do. But we did laundry, we wandered around. So because it was Erdbeersaison, which is, again, my shitty German, it was strawberry season. They have these little huts that are set up like strawberries. They literally look like strawberries, like you're in like Animal Crossing or something. And they just sell you a bunch of local strawberries and you can walk around and eat them. So this was probably my favorite stationery shop that we went to in any of the countries. I think it like has that perfect like cool girl vibe of having some stuff that is local made, some Japanese stuff, some like, so highly recommend if you're in Hamburg. And then the next day we went to the Hamburg Open. We are very into tennis. And so our thought was that we could catch Jannik Sinner playing. But the way our schedule shook out and the way that he dropped out of the tournament. We only got to go to the first round, so we did not get to see him. And then it was Eurovision, so we watched the Eurovision from the hotel, and that was super fun. I am a huge Eurovision fan. Espresso Macchiato was robbed, which I later told the Estonian president. That will be in the next journal because that was in July. But Espresso Macchiato by Tommy Cash was the Estonian entry, and if you have not listened to it, go. It will change your life. So we went to Bruges the next day. And I should explain also that Shanish and I bought U-Rail passes. They call it Interrail if you're an EU citizen. They call it U-Rail if you're not, EU Rail. And basically you pay up front and then you have unlimited free train travel for however long you have paid up front for. So we paid for 2 months continuously, and I'll have to do like a video breaking that down because We got it on 20% discount the year before because we knew we were going to be doing this. So highly recommend doing that. But we just trained over to Bruges. I liked Bruges. It was beautiful, but it was like very over touristed. It's a really popular day trip, I think, from Paris and Brussels. And so, yeah, people just like pour out of these tourist buses and walk around with their little flags and their little like earpieces listening to the tour guide, which I like that they do that now instead of like megaphones. But yeah, I definitely recommend staying in Bruges and staying overnight because then things sort of calm down. These I actually found at our next destination, Lille, France, which we stopped in. We were going to spend 2 days in Bruges and then go down to Bordeaux, but all of the Belgian trains were striking starting at like a certain point. And so we had to get out of Belgium real quick. So we left early that morning to get to Lille. But when we were in Lille, we actually loved it a lot. There's this little place, there's this place called like the Viel Bourse. I don't know. My French is even worse than my German, so I don't know. But it's like this old stock exchange in the Renaissance era, and like the merchants used to go and trade things there, and now it is like a used book stall. And there were these cute like 1960s postcards from Bruges, and so I have a bunch of those still, but used a couple here. We also found some for Bordeaux, and then we also found some for Metz, which is where my husband has gotten lost to Turkish Airlines, but I digress. Lille was amazing. I think it's so chill. To me, it felt like Paris, but like 40 years ago. Like it feels very French, but very low key. It was gorgeous. I mean, this was the park. We walked through Citadel de Lille. So the Sun King, I think it's Louis XIV, he built this like huge citadel that looks like a star, and it's now a public park, and it is just beautiful, and people are hanging out. And then we asked some French military guys like if we could go take a picture, and they thought, I think, that we were asking if we could like go inside. There was like a NATO conference or something. So we definitely got further than we were probably legally supposed to. But we should have spent way more time in Bordeaux, but we were on a mission. We went to Chateau d'Agassac, and they were so nice. We ended up being like the only people at the chateau. They were like, what kind of wine do you like? And we were like, any. And so then they just started pouring us like the weirdest wines they had, and it was so fun. Again, these are those vintage postcards that I found. This is literally a wine pourer that they give you. I was like, can I buy that sticker? And they were like, you can just have that. It is for pouring samples of wine. And I was like, thank you so much. Shit hits the fan. So we were going to train down to my best friend's wedding in Toledo, Spain. So we were just gonna hop on a train from Bordeaux all the way down to Madrid, Atocha, and then swap and go to Toledo from there. However, we got an alert that like we could not book our ticket online and had to go see someone at the French train station. So we did, Shaunish did. And the guy was like, yes, unfortunately, all of the trains are, the track is broken for 2 weeks. So you will not be able to take a train. I do not see a solution for you. We were like, okay, well, we have to get there anyway. And flights were insanely expensive, but even renting a car was like $1,500 a day because one, I think we were crossing country borders, and two, I think all the French people just rented a car because they were like, screw it. So the cheapest option for us was to take a 9-hour bus to Spain, which was fine. It honestly was not that bad, but what cracked me up was that it was one of those buses that has a bathroom, and there was a sign on it that said exclusive PP, which I was just like, what language are we going for here? And also, what if you have to poop? I don't know. So then I also, when we got, this was like peeing in heaven. It was like, there was ambient music and harp sounds and like mood lighting and lavender scent. Like I don't know what's there, but highly recommend if you were ever in the Madrid Atocha train station, go pee there. We made it in one piece to Toledo, and I have just like a couple of things. It was my best friend's bachelorette. So I tried to do like the little Spanish tile things in here. This was from Posta y Tinta in Madrid. Another amazing like printing and postcard shop. It was wonderful. But so I just wrote down things. We went on a walking tour that day and a lot of our friends were there and it was so fun to connect with them. And then my sisters also were arriving that day. So then we hung out with them a lot. This is just a list of places that we ate so I can remember those for later because I like to add them to my Google Maps and also to the Belly app, if you're familiar, Beli. I like to upload things there. And then some other stuff. So Toledo is famous for like marzipan. So we bought some marzipan from Santo Tome, which is the oldest bakery in the city and also was the bakery that made my friend's cake for her wedding. So that was great. And then we had just sort of like a bachelorette dinner situation, which was super fun. But we went to this beautiful restaurant called La Ermitaña. It apparently used to have a Michelin star, maybe doesn't anymore, but it's still incredible. And we just had like a prix-fixe dinner. And yeah, I just wanted to remember it because it was like the best food I think I've ever had on a bachelorette. So made a little pocket, stuff everything in there. Then the next day was the day before the wedding. So we had like a tapas and toast, like welcome dinner situation. I have known Taylor for like my entire life. She's one of my best friends of all time. And it's really cool seeing like a friend that you've known for their whole life grow up and like get married. And like now we're both married. It's kind of crazy. Then my sisters were there. And so we had this gorgeous garden outside of our Airbnb that we took a bunch of pics outside of, but we also like opened a wine bottle and they didn't have a corkscrew, which I had to learn the Spanish for corkscrew is sacacorchos. So if you ever need to use that, there you go. But we were opening a bottle of wine not with a sacacorchos and it sprayed everywhere, like the cork broke. So I was like, okay, we got to get vinegar and baking soda. But accidentally could only find baking powder. So I put that here because there's also like a little recipe on it. And I'm like, maybe I want to make madalenas. I don't know. And then the wedding was this day. Just me thinking about the wedding, my beautiful friend and how we looked at the wedding. And then this is another. So the next day we made our way to Madrid. We were hungover to hell because of a wedding and also we were really sore from all our dancing. So we've been to Madrid before. We will go back again, obviously. So we mainly just stayed in the hotel room and got Chinese food. This is from the bag of marzipan from Toledo. I just loved like the orange and pink. And then this is another print from Posta y Tinta. So again, love them, please go there. And then I just was thinking about like the orange and the pink. And I just loved their metro tickets. They have just this design, Metro de Madrid, and they also have a metro museum. And I asked the metro museum if they had any stickers and they were like, no. And I was like, okay, well, so that's not helpful for me. So I just kept this and put it in here. But just making a list of like, we go places and we'll be like, oh, we should go here. Or like, oh, we should come back and go to this part again. So just writing things down, like we want to go back to Bordeaux and like we want to, we want to make it to Wales at some point, just inspo, fun things. And so then from Madrid, we went to Edinburgh and you can see there's some bleed through from the next page, which I'll get into. But I used to live in Edinburgh and so it was really cool going and showing Shawnish all my old stomping grounds, but it's changed a lot. And so I got a little, just thinking about that. And then, yeah, but it's changed a lot. I think it's become really touristy. I lived there in 2016 and 17 and I think there was some like Harry Potter stuff there, but now it's become like incredibly Harry Potterified, like even the graveyard. And so that kind of disappoints me a bit, but what can you do? There's still a lot of really great things in Edinburgh and really fun neighborhoods. And I love it still, but it was just different, And then we went to the National Museum of Scotland, which I love. It has Dolly the sheep there, the first clone. And then it also has this like one of the oldest chess sets from Lewis and Harris. here. So those were cool. Went to dinner with my friend. And then the next day we were still in Edinburgh, actually, recovering. And this is just song lyrics. 'Cause we mostly were working from Edinburgh. So I was like, I don't really know what to put on this page. These are song lyrics from Caledonia by Dougie MacLean. And it is like one of my favorite songs of all time. And Caledonia is a word for Scotland, and it means a lot to me. So I wrote down a lot of the lyrics, but I was like, oh, I can't fit the lyrics in. Like I started writing them in green, and then I was like, well, I can't fit all of them on one page. And so then I just started writing over in green and brown, and then outlining like one of the sort of closing lines of it in black. So I started with like a Tombo food nasuke, which shout out, Amy just introduced me to those. I had no idea what they were. I thought people were just talking about like the end of a Tombow marker until very recently. But it's so like thin that I didn't want to like waste all my ink. So I did pull out a Sharpie because my black Tombow, RIP, also lost to Turkish Airlines. So, I would have not done a Sharpie, but it worked out okay. This gets a little muddy, but that's okay. And then we rented a car and drove up to the Highlands from Edinburgh, and we trained from Edinburgh to Fort William, and then we rented a car. And so we picked up our car, went to Loch Harpach, which is really near Fort William, and Nevis in the background. It was really cloudy when we were there, so we didn't get to see it. And Ben Nevis is the highest peak in Scotland, so I thought that would be a really cool photo op. But alas, and it actually snowed when we were there in June. So we did not get to see the tip of Ben Nevis, but it was beautiful. So I highly recommend going there. Yeah, I usually do a page where I recap stuff like this one or like this one. But I haven't done that yet for this one, and a lot of my ephemera, and I should just like make a bingo card for how many times I mentioned this, but my ephemera was also lost by Turkish Airlines. So I just give up hope and just do it the way I want to now, or if I want to wait for my ephemera so it will present itself for my original vision. Like I put these down first, but we'll see. Then we went to Eilean Donan Castle, which was really cool. We drove all the way up to Eilean Donan and Kyle of Lochaush on our way to Skye. And we were just listening to a bunch of Scottish Spotify music, but it like got caught on the same playlist. So it was just basically all like Celtic Woman, which shout out, Celtic Woman was my first concert in Arlington, Texas. So if any of you are Orla stans out there, I am as well. We also listened to two really great podcasts about like Scottish history and Bonnie Prince Charlie specifically, who was like a really big figure in Scottish independence and like the Jacobite Rebellion. So I will link those in the show notes because they were amazing. Scottish History Pod, it's by like a local Edinburgh guy who just gets really into tour guiding and history. And then Empire, which is hosted by one of my favorite scholars, William Dalrymple, who does a lot of work on the East India Company and ways of resistance in India. So it's really cool, really like it. Nerd moment, but there you go. You get all kinds when you get a journal flip through with me, I guess. And then we were on Skye the next day. We went to the Skye Museum of Island Life, which had those like spooky, when you go to a museum and there are those like spooky mannequin people, I literally got jump scared by a real woman because I thought she was one of the mannequins because they were in so many of them, and they were all in these little like croft houses, like all the different parts of the museum. And so you would just like walk around into this dimly lit room and then, oh my God, be scared. So then we went and dipped our faces in the Sligaken River, which apparently is supposed to give you like eternal beauty if you do it. But you have to hold your face in the water for 7 seconds. So there was like this big tour bus of older people and then us. And so we were the only ones that were there at the time who actually did it. And so they were like counting down from 7 and like cheering for us from the bridge. And it was really cute. And then the next day we met a Highland Coo, which I love. And again, trying my hand at actually doing drawings because I couldn't find any like good stickers that I liked. Most of them are just like Scotland. And I was like, okay, well, that's not like very fun. And then we went to the Glenfinnan Viaduct, which was the like Jacobite steam train. That's the Hogwarts Express. Yes, JKR is a piece of trash human who oppresses people and thinks that they are less valid than other people. But the train line is run specifically by ScotRail, which is like, they're fun and they're scrappy and they like serve so many people that don't have transit. And also Glenfinnan Viaduct was a National Trust thing. So I'm like, if the heritage preservation of Scotland is getting kickback from this to preserve other Scottish stuff, I will go pay the money to go see the viaduct. And then we went to Glasgow, which I love Glasgow. They always say the people make Glasgow, and it's so true. And my sister brought me back. This is from Margaret McIntosh. She and her husband, William McIntosh, did all of these like mosaics and stained glass and gesso panels and really cool art in Glasgow. And so she got me a card, but it does look like a vagine. Like, and I think it's supposed to, but it's very large and I didn't want the vagine in my journal. So this is a random sticker I got at a store in Fort William, which was the same store I got this at. This was by like a local artist, so I thought that was super cute. And this is the subway ticket for the Ring, which is Glasgow's metro. It has like 10 stops and it goes like around, like it is like a Disney World ride, but I love it very much. Then we went to Durham to visit family friends, gave us a tour of Durham. Then we just ended up drinking Tesco wine in Venetia's bar, which is one of the daughters who is one of our family friends. Her mom wanted her to move back in during COVID, and she said, only if you let me turn the shed in the back into a bar. And the mom said, okay, fine. And she like put a ping pong table and like there's a full bar and all of these like glasses. Like when they were in America in April, they were like, okay, I've got to take this for my bar. I got to take this for Venetia's bar. And so that was really funny because a lot of this stuff from like our hometown and from Atlanta were in Venetia's bar. And it was just the best. And then we ended up just like drinking Tesco wine and listening to Ed Sheeran, like his whole discography. And Venetia's boyfriend was like, oh, I quite like Tides. And I was like, that is like the deepest cut Ed Sheeran song you could possibly pull. I am an unapologetic Sheerio, by the way. I think that little ginger man is lovely and perfect, can do no wrong. But I am saving this because I want to put a picture there. Haven't gotten around to printing it yet. And then it was my 32nd birthday, and I went to grad school at the University of Edinburgh. Yeah, there was a group of 6 of us that were really close and did everything together and would always study together, be in class together, and then go out and do things. And so this was the first time we'd been back together in almost a decade. And we rented a house in Camber Sands, which is outside of Rye in East Sussex. And it was just lovely. We like just walked on the beach. We played games. These are all slips from Fishbowl. If you've played it, it's sort of like everyone writes down slips of papers. Exclusive PP has made a comeback. And so you write down a bunch of things, you put them in a fishbowl, and then you go through rounds of guessing them. So like you do sort of like a catchphrase, like, oh, you can say every word except for this word. And then the second round is charades. And then the third round is you can only say one word. So if I were trying to get an exclusive PP, I would be like bus, and then hope that you remembered from rounds 1 and 2 that exclusive PP was in that sort of word bank. But yeah, so it was super fun. Here's a picture of all of us. It was just really nice. And then this is a map of Rye, which is just like the cutest town in East Sussex. It was so fun. We walked around and just like shopped around and went to this lovely place called the Mermaid Inn, which is haunted apparently, and used to be the headquarters for some smugglers. So I should like Maybe I'll just rip it off. Fuck it, I'm doing it live. But yeah, it used to be a place for smugglers, and like Queen Elizabeth maybe stayed there. Am I making that up? I don't know. It's really old. So look up the history. They have it on their website, I'm sure, but you can also stay there. So now I'm like, I'm gonna go back and stay there. Maybe. I don't know how I feel about ghosts though. I don't know how I feel about ghosts. Anyway, it was beautiful. And I wrote down again some of the places we went so I can remember that. And I would like to put like another photo here probably. So then we went to Tunbridge after that and worked from there. We stayed in this like little annex, which was great. And it was kind of in the middle of the woods. And so I just pulled out my Merlin app and just like collected so many birds. And then, yeah, we went into town for dinner and we thought we were going to this like cute little pub. And then bam, we got tricked. It was actually a Wetherspoons pub, which is fine. I love a Spoons, but they always trick you into it. It's sort of the British equivalent of a Chili's. It's like a chain of pubs, and they're really nice, and like they're really good because they sort of take these local pubs that are going to go under and they give them new life. There are these pubs, it's a chain of pubs, and they like, you know, if a pub is going under in a small town and they revive it, that's really great. But they do trick you because they'll have these like cutesy names and like steampunk vibes, and you're like, oh, I'm in Sherlock Holmes, and then you go in and it's like owned by Wetherspoons and it's highly corporatized. But you know what? It slaps, it's cheap, and it's great value for your money. So we did get tricked into another accidental Wetherspoons visit in Tunbridge because it was called like the post office or something. And I was like, oh, what a cute pub name. Boom, you're in a Spoons. So while we were in Tunbridge, we also went to the neighboring town, Royal Tunbridge Wells, which like has this water, you can read it. Basically the Queen of England came to take the waters, and then she got pregnant. And everyone came and like wanted to take the waters for their health. And I was like, yes, health, no, don't want to be pregnant right now. But then we were like, we should support this small town. Like this really was not the biggest place to go see. Like it was just right there. And we're like, there's an old church, let's go pop in. Well, we got waylaid by two retirees who were so sweet, Andrew and Joanna. I doubt they're watching this because Andrew had a little Nokia brick and I don't think he knows how to get on the internet. And I had to show them how a QR code worked while I was there. So, you know, they're not seeing this, but we did feel really guilty about all the time we spent there. So we did get some fun stickers and postcards. Well, so Queen Victoria liked to come to Royal Tunbridge Wells to take the water as well. And the plasterer did not like the royals. And so apparently, allegedly, I don't think it looks like this, but allegedly an angel that was like across from Q Vicky Vic's sort of throne situation where she sat in the church had him sticking out his tongue at her. But who's to say? Then I just wrote, I love a list, and I was just trying to think like, what have I learned traveling for a month? And like British people get surprisingly emotional upon hearing Beyonce's American Requiem, but they don't know the words to the Star Spangled Banner. Like it was wild. We were at Beyonce in London, and Beyonce's over here like, American Requiem. And this girl beside me is just like, oh yes, so yes. And I was like, you're from Belfast. This ain't Texas, girl. So I digress. It's the power of Beyonce. She can enjoy it. That's fine. But as the card carrying Texan next to her, I was a bit astonished that she didn't know the Star Spangled Banner. Yeah, so just a lot of stuff there, like the Wetherspoons pub situation. So these are just some things that I observed. Like, did you know you need to wear water shoes in Croatia because there's sea urchins everywhere? No one told me this. You need water shoes. This is probably one of my favorite spreads. Go to UCL and also does a lot of work where the museum collections in her dissertation are mostly in London. So she was hanging out there. And so we went to Pub Quiz, which was great. Went to Present and Correct, which was super cute. Very minimalist and kind of like retro modernist vibes. So not always my bag, but I did get this little postcard that I cut out and did. And then we went to Cowboy Carter. This is from our wristbands Cowboy Carter. And then this is a tube map, which I have never picked up before, but I was like, this is going in my journal. They have them at almost all the tube stations. So, and then there's me and my sister at Cowboy Carter. And then the next day we flew to Albania for like 8 hours and then went to Montenegro. The only way you can get to Montenegro is via bus or car, and I do not trust myself to drive in the Balkans, so we took a bus, where I met my new role model and life icon, this Balkan bus driver who did several iconic things. So one, he, while driving for about 5 hours, smoked 16 cigarettes, literally chain smoked them, despite there being a big no smoking on board sign, which, you know, you do you, whatever. I was right behind him. And then I kind of have like tour guide energy. Like people will look at me and be like, this girl is responsible. And this man latched onto that. So like we would just pull over on the side of the road and he was taking a smoke break and he would look at me and be like, break. And I would turn to the rest of the bus and be like, everyone, we are taking a smoke break now. And then we would hop off and proceed as follows. So yeah, I was his biggest ally on the bus, I think. Do I maybe have masses in my lungs from the secondhand smoke I inhaled? Probably, but you do certain things to gain the respect of Balkan bus drivers. That's one of them. He did, as he dropped us off, hit and run a car and just sort of like pretended like it didn't happen. And then a police car drove by and did not acknowledge it either. But I had to just immortalize him in the spread because, yeah, this is what I saw for like 5 hours, just the back of his balding head and him smoking. And I'll never forget him. I don't know his name. We didn't get that far, but I'll find him at some point. Then this is just a tipped in Montenegro postcard. This is in KOTOR. Oh, just like, look at this. Like, look at, oh. Just like, look at this. Gorgeous. It's the best. I need to go back to Montenegro with a swiftness that I was not anticipating. But we went on a trip in Montenegro. We did a like motorboat tour. It was like €35 a person in 3 hours, and it was amazing. And our boat driver just turned on, he goes, I will play music now, and played Macklemore's Thrift Shop like 3 times on repeat. So that was cool. And then he figured out it wasn't shuffling. And then we got to like the real shit. And one of them is something called Reggaeton Montenegro. And it just goes, this is how we do in Montenegro, like over and over. And it is now obviously my favorite song of all time. So I had to immortalize that. That's on a postcard. These are some stickers from like Bando, I think. One of those like sticker books. And then this is just me reflecting on KOTOR. It was just beautiful. Like literally just like, look at this. That is like, this looks less blue than the water actually was. We went swimming and the sun was gorgeous and everyone was so kind. Montenegro, go. Montenegro is the new Croatia, is what I've been telling everyone. And I stand by that. These are just some memories from the Balkans in general, because I feel like I didn't encapsulate all of the little nuances of it. It was my first time in the Balkans and I love them. I feel a kinship. My dad's side of the family is from the Czech Republic. And so there are a lot of words that are the same, like pivo, which is beer, and like dobre den, which is like good morning. And so there are a lot of, I felt a kinship with my Slavic Balkan brethren. But yeah, so our apartment host made us homemade wine. He like texted us, he was like, I have made you wine, homemade, please enjoy. And we were like, love it. And it was honestly the best wine we had in Montenegro. This was just KOTOR, it's gorgeous. The sea urchins, as alluded to earlier, this is when we went swimming in the Blue Cave on our motorboat tour. We went swimming in the Blue Cave, that was fun. The Croatian word for cat is mačka, and they say meow like this, and it is a sign of good luck to see them. And they are everywhere and we loved them. So that was like a highlight of our trip. This is a great breakfast. It's like this Balkan pastry and it has cream cheese and spinach in it, and it's called börek sir spanat, and it is amazing. It is like such a substantial breakfast and so filling. Great to grab for like a train ride. We got lost literally everywhere when we were in Croatia. So we were in Dubrovnik for like a second. I'm not very into Game of Thrones, so we didn't stay there that long. And then we were in Split, and literally Google Maps has no idea where anything in Split is in the old town. Like, it took us like an hour to find our hotel room, and it was not good. It was like 102 degrees outside. So I was getting angry and impatient. So yeah, but that was a memory. Got to immortalize that. And then we hung out in Trstenik, which actually I talk about over here, which is a local beach in Split, at this random little cafe called Cafe Bonsai Bar. And the owner, Zdravka, was like the best. She told us all about like how this was her dad's garage when she was growing up, and then when he passed away, she got it, and so she created this bar. And it was just, she was so kind, and we hung out there for like 4 hours, just like eating peanuts and drinking tea with Croatian subtitles on. It was just a vibe. Yeah, and then the next day, this is talking about that a little bit. And so obviously, yeah, it was $2.70 for half a liter of beer. I'm not gonna say no to that, and that's the problem. Because then we ended up chasing this balloon around and like carrying her with us to a restaurant because we were like, we can't let her go. So that's the kind of fun you can expect with me, I guess. But yeah, then I just wrote down a bunch of the places we went. We ended up leaving our beach towel at Zdravka's Cafe Bonsai Bar. They're not on Instagram. I tried to tag them. They are not, but they are on TripAdvisor. I will link them. We had to go back the next day because we left the towel because we were so concerned about the balloon. Not Riviera, maybe called the Riva. I don't know, like the port, and then you can like walk alongside it. And I thought it was a really cute postcard, but I was tired of just like tipping in postcards. So I made it a pocket and made some little stuff. So there's my Aperol, obviously. I need to remake her out of cardboard. I think she's just like a little piece of paper. A seagull, a king seagull. He was sitting at the top of like the Diocletian Palace. And then a Split to Zagreb train ticket we had to get printed. It says Puno ti hvala, which means thank you very much. And that was like the one Croatian phrase that I learned. Puno ti hvala. So obviously ready to move there now. So I immortalized those in there. And then I just got thinking of like, oh, like I want to practice drawing some more because I feel like I've been keeping up pretty much, which is nice actually. You know, like I've been trying to do more drawing. And so I was like, okay, let me think about some of my other spreads that had less drawing. Let me just try. So I'm just thinking about like, there was a print I saw, I don't know, years ago that had like airplane windows and it had like the wing, and then it would have like the different like view behind the wing. And I was like, I don't care about the wing, but I do like the sort of idea of having these little bubbles. And so I just drew these guys. I guess material wise, it was mostly Tombow markers. And then I got some markers at Flying Tiger, which is a European chain. If you are not familiar, it's kind of like a mini Target. And so some of those colors were used. And then Turkish Airlines, I got Crayola soft tips or whatever. And so you can tell the difference in color a little bit. Like I wish I still had that like sandy Tombow color because this is a little too pink for me for Toledo, but eventually I will get that and I will go back over it. But yeah, we've got Bruges, Skye, Kotor, Toledo, Zurich, and then Istanbul, which actually is in July. But I asked Shawnish, what's a place I should? And he said Istanbul. So I said, okay, whatever you wish. And then we went to Slovenia, which is one of my new faves. It and Montenegro are just on the list of the best. And so we went to Ljubljana, which is one of the smallest like capital cities in Europe, and it was midsummer, so that was super cute. This was at a design store, and they gave me this little sticker on it too. Živio. Ljubljana says hi. Živio. I don't speak Slovenian, so that was probably entirely wrong, but it was super cute. They had a lot of like local designer and like only Slovenian made stuff, which I thought was awesome. But yeah, we've got to come back. They are so into like nature and beekeeping and winemaking and hiking and like gardening. Like 60% of them eat produce from their own gardens. I'm obsessed. If you are Slovenian, slide into my DMs. I would love to be friends and come visit you because I love it here. Anyway, so we learned a lot about Slovenia. We went to like a winery. So anyway, we went to the Slovenia Ethnographic Museum because I thought we would learn like about Slovenian culture, because that to me is what ethnographies are. And it was the craziest museum I think I've ever been to. So it would be like, they have these really cool hats, like wedding hats, for example, and they have all these flowers on them. I'll show a picture. They have all these flowers on them, and if someone is getting married, certain people in the family get to be like the like wedding inviter announcer people, and they go door to door in the village with this hat on, inviting people to come to the wedding, and they all like, you sort of like follow them. They have like flowers and streamers. So cool. However, this museum had one of those, and when I was like, oh, let me try to read about this thing, it was just like, hats. Have you ever worn a hat? Hats protect you from the cold, and also from the heat and the sun and the wind and the rain. And I was like, okay, but like specifically, like tell me about wedding hats. And it was like, you can wear a hat to show your status or a temporary role, or you can use it for ritual, like a crown or a mitre. And I was like, this is nothing. Also, it was all in Slovenian, so I'm like over here Google translating, and it's just nonsense. There was like a whole exhibit that was like, what is time? Is it a flat circle? And I was like, I am not high enough for this. So yeah, this is some stuff we learned about that I would love to go back and do more. And then this is just a little drawing of the dragon bridge they have in the middle of Ljubljana. It was very cool. And I was like, I want to try to draw a dragon. So I did. And then I went to work in Bonn. Here, let me flip this under to get it a little more even. And then we went to Bonn, Germany for work. We were there for a week. They have Diet Coke, which Slovenia did not. That is my number one gripe with Europe, is they have vending machines for cigarettes, but my Diet Coke is too unhealthy. Explain yourselves, Germans. Well, not Germans. Well, Germans have Diet Coke, but it tastes different because you like can't have the aspartame or something. If anyone knows the actual facts of this, please let me know. I'm just making things up at this point based off of things I have heard and loosely remember. So then I was working in Bonn, and our teammates in Bonn are just wonderful. I'm gonna put a picture of us here. But they're such fun personalities and everything we did. And then we had some really funny quotes. Like one of my colleagues, her son went on a trip with her mother, so his grandmother, and apparently asked someone at a candy store if he could have the chocolate well done. And I was like, you can't write that. That is a brilliant line. Like, excuse me, can I have this chocolate well done? Incredible. And then this is like a postcard from this place called Flittenwerk, which is a place that just has different poutines, which is my preferred food group. So I think this says like, dear, I have brought fries. And I was like, sexed, incredible. Keeping that in there. Then we won a Kub tournament, which is like a yard game, which was really good. We got second place, which actually is winning, because if you got first place, then you have to come back and organize it for the next year. But this was for like the University of Bonn geography department. And so we were just their partners and live in America. So I was like, I mean, we could fly back over, but it was good that we got second, because then we redeemed ourselves, because apparently our colleagues last year got 17 out of 17. They were the last place. And apparently the like quarterfinals started with 16 teams, and so they were the only team not to make it past the first round. So we redeemed ourselves, so that was good. And then this is where like this is all of my Bonn days. Like I was still in Bonn on these days, but I was like, I can put it all in here. That to me is just like 2 spreads. So we're just doing a lot of work, and it's not stuff that needs to go in my journal particularly. And so then I just like wrote down, I made a list per usual, just like things that I was like, oh, this is so nice. Like we should do this in the US. And so, or things that I was like, oh, we should eat that at home, like coronation chicken. If you are not familiar, it's like a curried chicken salad, and it usually has like grapes and curry powder, and oh, it's so good. I'm just like thinking about it, my mouth is watering. So I just made a list of that. And then bubble thoughts. This is something I do like every once in a while. I go through my camera roll and just pull out all my screenshots and categorize them. So I have to read, to listen, to look into, and to try. So like if I've Shazammed a bunch of stuff, or if I've screenshotted a book, or if I'm like, oh, I need to like, this is like, you know, there's a 15-minute Pilates video that someone named Boho Beautiful has on YouTube that apparently like changed someone's life. And I'm like, yeah, I am gonna look into that. Yeah. Then I made another list. This is just like a current state of affairs, because we were traveling a lot between, this was like these were in Bonn. This was a train day, because we had to go up from Bonn all the way up to Hamburg, and then Hamburg over to Copenhagen. And so it was a long train day. So I was just like working on stuff, and then I was like, oh, I have some journaling time. So that was fun. And that was just like, I don't know, I like to do this where I'm just like, what are things I'm into right now? And it's like, oh, I'm really into Last One Laughing Germany, which is great. I am really into poppies. I kept seeing them everywhere, and that was really nice. Haribo. Yes, Bonn is from Haribo. Wait, no, sorry. Haribo is from Bonn. So the Haribo Museum and Factory is there. And so every day we had different Haribo from different countries, because it's sort of like they have all of the ones that you can only get in specific countries, but they have them all in Haribo. And so my colleagues would be like, here's the French one, here's the Danish one. And we would just try the different Haribos. It was amazing. So then we were in Copenhagen. My sister happened to be in town actually. So we went and ate with her. It was also a studenterkursus. I have no idea about the Danish, y'all. I'm not even gonna pretend. But basically, Danish students, when they graduate high school, get these like party trucks that they go around the city in, blasting music. I heard so much Pitbull, and they wear these sailor caps and have whistles, and then they like will stop and just start like dancing in the street and like spraying people with beer. So it was all in all being in Copenhagen that weekend, because it was like graduation weekend and they were doing the studenterkursus then. Wild. Yes, they had a little stickers that I got from a Danish artist. Well, actually, I think she's Polish, but she lives in Copenhagen now. And I don't have the rest of the sheet because of Turkish Airlines, but she was incredible. And if I figure out what her name was, I found her at like, I was just walking around and I like walked by and I was like, oh, these are great, because they were like actually cute, like stickers and stationery. And I sent my friend a postcard from there. Instead of just like the I Heart Copenhagen kind of stuff, you know? So, I wish I knew her name. And then we're getting to the end. Oh God. This is why I'm not in the cousin this year. And then this was from Copenhagen. I got ambushed by a seagull. I got a stuffed croissant from Buka. It was wonderful for the like 2 bites I had it, because I literally was just sitting and I was eating. And I was just like looking over, because there was like a Danish hot dog stand, and I was like, we should get Danish hot dogs later. And I just feel something smack my thumbnail, and all of a sudden my croissant is gone. And this bitch ass hoe, is eating my entire croissant in one gulp. Huge. That was his beak that hit my thumb. Is that not crazy? Anyway, so this is some stuff we did. And then the next day we went to Almholtz because we were headed up to Stockholm. So we went through Almholtz, Sweden, which is like not big at all, but it is the birthplace of IKEA. So we went to the IKEA museum, and then I just made a list of like things in the IKEA museum that inspired me I still need to figure out what I want on this page, probably pictures, which I'll probably print out from Sweden. But yeah, these were just things I saw and I was like, yeah, you know, when you go to a museum and you're just like writing things down, or you like see things that catch your eye, try to be better about like processing that information. Like I intake a lot of information and I want to process it, which is like kind of what the bubble thoughts are for. Just my last page is thinking of things that I have missed while traveling. Central air conditioning is up there. This is in no particular order, but yeah, I love being back in my house. I love cleaning my house. I love cooking. I love running errands. Being gone for 2 months is, I think, a little too much, but 2 months really puts things in perspective. You know, people are always like, I look at my to-do list and I'm like, oh, I have to do that. No, reframe, I get to do. But I'm like, no, legit, I get to do that. Like I get to sit on my bum and record this video for you because I can. And I'm at my house and I have like the setup to do it. I have my little gooseneck thing over here, and I like have like my big thing of peach tea that I can drink from, and like I can sit on my floor that I've cleaned, and I can vacuum my rug. Like what a gift. And so I will end it there. Yeah, that was my quick and dirty, very chatty flip through. Again, if you don't follow me on Instagram or Substack, I'm there way more often than I am on YouTube, but maybe that'll change. Who knows? I will show you the rest of the pages from the end of our trip in July once I have finished those. Until then, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share with a friend, all that stuff. Yeah, I just hope you make some time for play this week and can't wait to see what you dream up.